This past week, I competed in the Game Maker's Toolkit 2026 Game Jam, where we were given 96 hours to make a game with the following theme.
Countdown.
If you watched my last video, you know the preparation I've made leading up to this game jam. And considering it's one of the biggest game jams of the year, we really wanted to give it our all. For this game jam, I teamed up with my friend, Holonkai. Be sure to check the description for her itch page with our submission after the video. The morning of the announcement, neither of us had the morning to sit down and talk about the theme. Unfortunately, that wasn't our only problem. I woke up that morning with a fever, and as the day went on, the rest of the symptoms started hitting me. At first, I figured I'd just push through it, but it quickly became obvious this wasn't just a cold, and a couple days later I found out I caught pneumonia. So while I was trying to not feel miserable, we still had to figure out what countdown actually meant. We eventually found some time to hop on a call, and that's when the real brainstorming began.
The background stays the same. The blocks are what are disappearing.
Right.
At like, sort of make it random, but like not really. Like have like 6 different arrangements of these.
Okay. We finally had a direction for the game, basically an infinite platformer where the platforms disappear from under you. It was finally time to start prototyping, and we wanted our game to feel polished. While she got the player movement together, I got us a basic menu and pause screen. With this being my first time collaborating on a game with somebody, I also had to learn Git, which I didn't think it'd be that hard considering it's an industry standard. We just work on separate files, and since they're separate files, they won't break everything and it'll all be good. We probably spent the next hour trying to get this fixed until it randomly just fixed itself. Now, picking up where I left off on my to-do list, the character sprite was next, and we wanted a fantasy theme, so why not make a fairy? Take this arm back
It's
out.
going for me.
Take that arm out a little bit. There we go. Yeah.
Dude, let's fucking go. Dude, I actually really love her. We gotta use her. She's fucking scary.
Listen, art is not my strong suit in game development, but I tried my best. It was at this point that the fever I had was really getting to me, and as much as I tried to push through it, I had to call it for the night. The next day, it was at this point where we started to feel our game felt a little bland. Sure, the platforms disappeared on a timer, but we needed more. This is where we introduced the roguelike. I started adding enemies to the game with advanced AI. Oh yeah, and remember all that talk I had about coding properly and doing advanced architecture with composition and readability? It's not that I didn't want to, it's just for a game jam that required too much planning, problem solving, and stuff I didn't have the time for. I still reused the health component I've used in multiple other projects, and the orchestrator handled communication. It just also did a lot more than that. And although enemies were fully added, they could chase, attack, and do all sorts of things. You'd be proud of me because I also learned how to use resources to make it easy to change their stats in the inspector. There's definitely more I could have done with the resources, but it was a good start. Now you might notice I'm doing a lot of work in a level that still isn't built. This is actually where I learned one of the most useful lessons from this jam. The importance of testing scenes. It was so nice being able to work on enemies in their own environment without worrying about other variables. Whether that's falling off the map, waiting for the platforms to reset, or dealing with other systems that weren't yet finished. Instead, I could easily work on enemies without being distracted. This was actually one of the biggest workflow improvements I learned from this jam. But anyways, back to the enemies. I spent a lot of time trying to add knockback to enemy and player attacks. However, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get it to work. I was trying to have a raycast transfer its directional data to the health component, and then we could translate that to a force and add it to the player's body. It mathematically made sense, but I couldn't get it. What probably would have worked best would be to separate the knockback component and the health component. I think for some reason it wasn't working because neither the player nor the enemy was moving based on physics, but rather just setting their velocity. However, I added finishing touches to the enemies, giving them health bars and animations, and went to our main scene to add a spawner that took the enemies as a preload, put them in a list, then got a random integer from that list and spawned them at a random distance from the player. As we got to our final day, there was a lot more polish we wanted to do. Also, that roguelike we have needs increasing difficulty as well as increasing abilities. The platforms also felt very stiff and rigid, so I wanted to play with them a little too. For the platforms, I went into their tile map physics and checked the one-way collision box so we could jump through the platforms. Now the game still lacked a goal for the player, so I made a score manager that scores the high score and the current score that gets updated by the enemies when you kill them. I'm actually really proud of this arcade-like text that appears when you kill an enemy and shows the scores they give. I let Holonkai work on saving the actual high score while I worked on adding more to the game. The enemies now increased over time, but the player had no way of getting stronger. I started adding drops to the game that increase the player's damage, bullet speed, and give them health and even a double jump. In creating the double jump, I noticed it made the game a lot more fun, so I decided to guarantee that to the player as the first drop. So after changing up the home screen, the game still had some bugs, but we were pretty proud of how it actually turned out. We decided to let her submit the game, which was really cool because I got to learn how one designs an itch.io page. And then 1 week later, the results came out.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your
Okay, now I know it's not that bad. We definitely didn't release the next Vampire Survivors, but for a game made by newbie developers in a 4-day game jam, it's not bad. Going into this, I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I could build something with everything I've learned in Godot so far. I've learned things like how to work with Git, the importance of testing scenes, and got slightly more comfortable with resources and reusable components. Even with pneumonia, work, and only 4 days to build everything, we ended up with a game that we're genuinely proud of. And honestly, seeing people play something you made in just 96 hours is a pretty cool feeling. Like I said, if you want to give it a shot yourself, I'll leave a link to our itch.io page in the description. I'd love to hear what you think, whether it's feedback, bugs you find, or ideas you'd like to see if we ever come back to this project. That was a time when I become a cheesy content creator, and thank you all for the incredible support in my last video. I never would have expected to blow up so fast, and I loved hearing everyone's feedback. And I'd like to say now I'm sorry for anybody I triggered by saying Godot instead of Godot. It genuinely was just a ploy. But thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed following this game jam, consider subscribing because I would love to keep growing this community. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.